Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a surprisingly good sequel that doesn't disappoint. No breaks, no stopping, we're gonna get straight into this. This video is the second edition of our complete cataloguing of all the mastery tests. And something we're gonna do at the start of each of these videos is briefly explain what the mastery tests are and the general information you're gonna need to know for mastery tests in general. Because heading into this, we all know that people are going to be skipping the videos to the mastery tests that are most pertinent to them. So to make sure the information is there in each video, we'll just repeat that little segment to make sure people know the dealio behind mastery tests. Mastery tests are the tests you take when you've leveled up enough of your gear to reach your max mastery ranking. Each test will make an example of one trait or ideal within the game to push your knowledge of it and see if you have mastered, quote-unquote, the techniques and skills required of you up until that mastery level. You can only pass one mastery test a day, so if you fail a test, you'll have to wait 24 hours before you can try it again. But you can practice these tests by going to Simaris on any of the relays, and using the corridor to the right of the entrance to trial each of these tests, which I highly recommend doing before you actually go and do the mastery test itself. Keeping in mind as well, if you don't manage to pass your mastery test or you leave yourself maxed out, any additional mastery you earn between then and passing the test still carries over to your next level. So in theory, you can actually get one mastery test and then instantly get the chance of doing the next one right afterwards. Technically. Test 5. This test will put your inner matrix hacking skills to the burner. You will be presented with 6 hacking terminals, 3 of which will be the Grineer hack variant, and the other will be the Corpus hack variant. Initially, they will start with a red symbol showing you which one to hack first. The others will be inactive and only activate once you've completed the previous hacking challenge, each one getting sequentially harder as you complete the previous. For the Grineer hacking challenge, it comes down to muscle memory and just having good hand-eye coordination in general. And really, there's not much I can offer here in terms of advice for these other than get into a rhythm, and sometimes just spamming spacebar can help. Sometimes. Really, the Grineer one is more about just being able to press your spacebar in time. The Corpus tests are the simplest of all of these, and to me, shouldn't really be too much of an issue. All these will ask you to do is match up lines. The early levels are quite juvenile, only asking you to match up 1 or 2 lines at most, but then once you get to the half grid and full grid, the best avenue here, and the method to the madness, is to line up the outside ring first, and then spin the middle to match the outside. Doing that process, you should never have an issue running these. Keeping in mind that all of these tests will have a time limit. So you do need to be on the ball here and get through it before time runs out. Test number 6. This test is an accuracy test. And for me, it looks and feels quite awesome. You load into a very desolate expanse surrounded by balls! One of which will be red. God, that didn't make it any better, did it? I feel like Vauban would do well here, wouldn't he? The idea here is that you should initially shoot the red ball, and it will then start the test. Once the first ball has been shot, it will then shoot out a beam of light, chaining between the other balls, until a new ball glows red. Simply put, you shoot the red thing, follow the lines, and then you shoot the new red thing, and after you've done the minute or 2 of that, you're done. Realistically here, it's not that much of a challenging one. It might actually be kind of hard to see the lines if you're using lower graphical settings, but realistically, just look out for the red thing. The best advice I can give you here is twofold. Either bring a assault rifle with a high capacity, such as Karak, Braton, Soma, if you have them by this point. And realistically, any of the assault rifles can be good here. You just need to make sure you aim correctly. These accuracy tests can also be cheesed by using beam weapons, such as Ignis, Atmos, Ignis Wraith, Phantasma, if you got it by this point. As with these weapons, you won't even need to aim to actually be able to hit them, because you can just aim in the general vicinity of the red orb, and it'll actually have a lot of cleave damage, which in turn will allow you to glide through this test with no issue. A good secondary to that notion as well are shotguns. These shotguns also then make a great substitute because they have a wide berth and a wide spread to their buckshot. Test 7! So you know that moment in the last video where I said that you were done with exterminate tests, and then I lied, and then I promised there weren't any more. Yeah, I lied again, sorry. Or at least well, you're done with the easy ones, all right? This is the test that will show you how vital modding is. This test tightens the requirements, making it much harder to complete, and realistically, if you go in unmodded, you are highly likely to struggle with this test. And it's gonna be throwing level 15 to 25 Corpus, Grineer, and infested enemies at you at once. So you'll be dealing with Ospreys trying to overshield your enemy, melee dudes trying to steal your lunch money and punch you in the ghoulies, and lots of other nasty little overlaps of different traits between different enemies. So not only is this a test of your damage output, but if you just sit there, these guys will also quite easily be able to fail state you from trying to knock you down. This test will let you have access to all your weapons and abilities, and really you're going to want to bring whatever you have the most experience and best modding for, with either the frames or the weapons, as this test is a test of what you've learned up until this stage to push your power beyond just the base element of what the weapons and frames can bring. So by this stage, you'll have a good number of mods in your arsenal, even unleveled mods. And even with the unleveled mods, equipping these to your weapons will aid you greatly here. So my recommendation would be to bring whatever you have modded to the fullest, regardless of what it is. Alternatively, in the early stage, the Heck is a great suggestion here for this test, as it is a Master Rank 4 weapon and is stupendously high on base damage. And in essence, that will then allow you, even with a lack of modding, to not really have too much of an issue. Higher base damage generally allows you to have much better chance of killing enemies without understanding of modding. It just ends up being that you'll probably struggle a little bit later on if you don't then start modding them properly. Another alternative here is to also push through this with the power of your frame. For example, Excalibur's Exalted Weapon, as it at its base version, unmodded, will destroy these enemies very easily, assuming you had him as a starter frame or got him from War on Mars. Additionally, you'll likely have a pet by this point, and usually that pet is in the form of Taxon, and realistically, I can't imagine a point where I've ever said Taxon as being useful, but the Taxon is an aimbot of a pet, and can, if nothing else, make your life a little bit easier here, and should definitely be brought with you if you have it. I might sound a little bit all over the place with this one, but that's because this is a test that requires your own personal preservation. There's no set path, and it really is to test your potency of modding. And really, modding is key here. So just slap some mods on, get in there, and you'll definitely see whether you're capable of doing this. If you fail, then you just wait again for another 24 hours. But this is where testing this through the Samaris' test rooms can definitely tell you if you're ready or not. So test this with Samaris first, just to know if you're up to the standard of damage needed for this test. If I say test one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. Test number 8. And this is where things deviate quite tremendously. This one is a bit of an accuracy test, but it's also designed to see how well you control your character with bullet jumping, gliding, and double jumping. Should you fall and white out, that will count as an attempt. And this test, you have 3 attempts before you will have to wait another 24 hours for another go. Essentially, if you fail 3 times, you fail completely. When you load in, there will be a red orb in front of you. Shooting it, much like the previous red orbs you've encountered, will cause a platform to appear in front of you and the process to start. And the process here is to shoot the orb to lay a path out before you. Each jump requiring either a bullet jump, which is done by pressing Control and jumping in a direction that you want to go, or aim gliding to cover a distant gap, which is done by jumping and holding right click. Bearing in mind that initially that will only hold you in mid-air, so to make the most of this, you'll need to get a running jump or bullet jump and then aim glide to make the most of this jump, and to cover the most distance as well. There is also one jump that requires you to wall climb and wall jump. When you land against the wall, you can either hold right click to hang on the wall, or just do a streamlined jump onto it. You can also then keep pressing jump against the wall to edge your way up and get to the top. Either hold right click to wall hang or just do a streamlined jump. Either way, you need to get to the top, and this is probably the hardest part of this mastery test. There is no timer, so take it slowly. There's no need to try and get to the end quickly, so go platform by platform and test the distances. Don't fail because you tried rushing it, and definitely practice this with Samaris, as I've mentioned. I cannot overemphasize how important testing your mastery tests first are. And that's another 4 mastery tests. Obviously, this has now marked the first 8 that are done, and you can already tell that they're starting to get a bit harder. So leave a comment down below as which mastery test you found the hardest, or the first one you found difficult. And hopefully, if you want to see more of these, let me know which ones you want to see the most and which ones you think definitely need a singular video, and hopefully we'll get them out in due time. The plan is I'm going to try and get at least one of these videos out a week, maybe more, because they are rather simplistic to put together, and I think it'd be nice to have this catalog of information for those who would like to know more about the mastery test, especially some of the later ones. I mean, you think some of these are getting a little bit annoying? You ain't seen nothing yet. So from here on, the mastery test is going to get a bit more challenging, and the next one is a cracker, I can tell you. Probably the next one's going to be the one that people really initially struggle with. So make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, do all that stuff YouTube algorithm loves, and make sure you drop on by our Twitch streams for everyday streams and content creation where we get you involved and do stuff like that. And of course, follow my social media. I've said that twice, but ignore me because I'm very unprofessional the way I do these videos, and I'm going to leave this in because I'm very professional with editing. Anyway, I will hopefully see all you top hatters in the next video. Hurrah.